So here we are at the Whangarei City Council where an extraordinary general meeting has just taken place. We're here with one of the councillors who has advocated not to have fluoride in the water, and it's actually, I must say at this point, it's quite ironic. Usually councillors are getting crap left, right and centre because they're ignoring the will of the people, rating them to hell, more rates, less services, we all know that story. But finally you got a council, well, majority council with a casting vote from the mayor, that decides to back the people. And then the government comes down on them. So they're damned if they do and damned if they don't. But at least this time they're damned for a very good reason. Councillor Benney, explain to me what your drive and passion is, because as we've discussed previously, the so-called crazy people, kooks, don't seem so crazy anymore.
No, exactly. So this all came about probably 2 to 3 years ago, and I knew nothing about fluoride and was content to go along with the rest of the population and say, yeah, I know nothing about it. But then I was started to look at the science. I started to look at the legal cases around the world, and I looked at what the world was doing, and I started to question it. And the more I questioned it, the more it became absurd and weird. The fact that New Zealand is the only country in the world that's turning this fluoride tap on, the rest of the world is turning it off. And I looked at why. And the recent visit from Michael Connett, the US lawyer that took the EPA to court in the United States, was compelling and unbelievable in his content, what he's done. Factually based arguments against fluoridation, against the safety of fluoridation. This is all about the safety of the people. And the more you look at it, the more that you cannot deny the current science. Old science was definitely in favour of fluoridation as a safe and effective means for oral health. Now that has been debunked big time.
And quite often it's like anything else, isn't it, that the science you get seems to be the best science money can buy. It depends on whose vested interests are there, the lobby groups and the lawmakers that may be in their pocket. Fluoride obviously has never been safe and effective, just like the jab, never safe and effective. That's absolutely getting proven now. So the threats you've got from the Director General of Health, do you think that they will follow through with it? Do you think it's a bluff? Because I think it's a good thing that you are siding with the people. We would want you to have this fight and take it all the way, because the science is overwhelming, and anyone with half a brain can figure out that if you've got a small child, you definitely do not want neurodevelopmental issues.
Yeah, exactly, and I think that point has been lost. So that the pregnant woman and the children, there is no doubt from scientists on both sides that it is harmful to their health. The more water they drink, especially pregnant women and growing infants, the more fluoride in their system, it does affect their health, contrary to what the New Zealand scientists say. So we had the same argument with lead and asbestos. And as I said in my speech today, so the Ministry of Health had their own reports on those topics, and the reports, one was by Sir Peter Gluckman for the Ministry of Health, said New Zealand was 20 years behind the rest of the world, and we were relying on, we were not looking at overseas science, and we needed to. And we're not doing that here either. We're doing the same mistakes again.
Yes, and it's interesting you raise that point when we talk about things like tobacco. We talk about formaldehyde. That was another one. That was safe and effective for pregnant women to take, and all of a sudden we have all these defect births, but they all get their bought and paid for scientists around saying, no, nothing to do with that. And it's always years later, once the administration's gone, that they admit to it, pay out a few things, but most of the people who would possibly be claimants at the time are all dead. So they shift the responsibility. The same thing is happening with a whole lot of these whitewash inquiries we're having now. COVID in particular, and I because that's a pet peeve of mine, I've been rallying against that from the start. That's another one where science, best money can buy. It's causing carnage everywhere. Do you have the same, do you think the council gets access to proper information when it comes to whether your legal side or so-called expert side, or are they trotted in front of you? Do you go now, have you started seeking independent advice from the ones that are usually trotted out?
I do have some sympathy with council, because council, our chief executive is trying to look after the council, but our role is to look after the people. And that's put us into conflict in this topic. But the fact remains that the people of Whangarei have never fluoridated their water. They will never fluoridate their water, and we want to keep it that way. And this allows us to challenge that directive, and and the experts, and that Michael Connett was able to have access to the world's leading scientists on fluoride, Dr. Grandjean and others. There is no doubt they are the most renowned scientists in the world on fluoridation, and they have all changed their mind over the years. It used to be safe and effective, they thought. The more they've looked into it, the less likely it is to be safe and effective. And we're saying we need to pause this and let's have this debate. Let's look at the science, not just our New Zealand scientists who are ignoring overseas science and law. And let's have this debate and pause it for now. That's all we're asking, pause it.
Yeah, I find it quite ironic. We're a particular councillor who's against your desire to stop the fluoridation of the water in Whangarei here. He has tank water at home, so he's really not going to be subject to it anyway. And this is the sort of thing that I suppose is a pet peeve of mine, where a lot of people who climb in on any specific debate don't usually have a vested interest. Oh, they have. They're not on the result end of it, you know, the summary of it and its effect. So I think those people should automatically be disqualified, to be honest, but I know that it doesn't work that way. The issue of...
Can I comment on that? So
Yeah.
And I'm on tank water myself. Yeah. So, but I'm fighting for the people who aren't on tank water, my grandchildren, and the future of it. And to be fair to those councillors, it's not the fact they believe in fluoride, it's the fact that this Director General of Health has threatened them personally, and they've been threatened with personal fines. So while I don't... I understand their views, I don't support their views, and I think that if we're not up for the fight, who is going to fight for the people? No one is. And I think as a council we have made a stand which is leading the country. We've led the country on a lot of matters, but this is one we are leading the country, and I believe the country will follow.
Yeah, and the legal side of things, that's where a lot of people are trying to cite legalities, you know, because the government creates the local councils through the Local Government Act. And they basically, in 1986, when they pulled a bloodless coup against us all and made Parliament assume sovereignty, we sort of got rid of any semblance of the people rule. So when you get elected to council, you then start standing up for the people, which is a no-no to the Director General of Health, as you said. But yet there's legal statutes on the books that talk about self-defence, and that's coming to the defence of others as well. And that's effectively what you're doing. You are saving them from harm. That there should override any directive from a piece of crap bureaucrat like that.
Absolutely, and there's a number of statutes that support that. Section 11 of the Bill of Rights Act. We have the right to refuse compulsory medical treatment. The Supreme Court ruled in 2018 that this was compulsory medical treatment. We have the right to know what goes in our body. At least with the jab, you had the option of a jab. You have no option here. This is compulsory medical treatment. And it just goes further with the whole being forced in this. We will bathe in it, we will shower, we will cook in it, we will clean in it. If you don't drink water because you don't believe in it, that's right, you will still be, this is in your whole water supply. Our directive is to fluoridate our drinking water. So what do? We take hydrofluorosilicic acid, a toxic waste, and we put it in the whole water supply because there is no other way. It doesn't make sense. There's got to be better ways. There is better ways.
Yeah, well, look, the fact that you're standing for the health of people is commendable. The fact that there's councillors in there who are not is concerning, to say the least. And you're right, bringing up all those different statutes that actually back your case. This is a case that should go to the Supreme Court, and it should have a final order on it, because that way anything that comes following this can then be struck down. But depends, as usual, who's driving it. What do you have to say to anyone who out there who is still stuck in the paradigm and have done the propaganda, soaked up the agenda-driven propaganda that fluoride is good for you, you've got to take it and it'll make your teeth better?
Do your research. The evidence is now out there. And a good place to start is the US federal case in September 2024. And the subsequent report of January the 6th this year, which followed up from that report. The science is unquestionable. You cannot question it. And do your research, learn more about it, and then make your decision. But this blind reliance that the government is the sole source of truth and they know what they're doing has been proved wrong a number of times before and will be proved wrong again. But we need to hold out in the meantime.
Well, as you say, the conspiracy theorists are pretty much batting 100. And and those who call us conspiracy theorists are always getting it wrong. So I think we need more conspiracy theorists in government, and we are slowly getting you across to our side. We know you're not quite there yet, but we are tipping the scale. I must, however, just go back to your everyone had a choice with the jab. Let's face it, if there is negative consequence to a choice, it's not a choice. It's coercion. When you say to a family, you get jabbed, or you don't pay your rent, you don't feed your kids and all that sort of stuff, that's coercion. And I don't think that is actually a choice. Some have to take one for the team. I'm fully sympathetic to the people who got jabbed. I know this is unrelated to this, but it actually is related because it's another safe and effective idea. So these people are corralled and they're pushed. There's some idiots who will just line up like sheep and say, bah, give me the drench. And then you've got the others who know in their gut there's something wrong here because they haven't got enough information. They don't want to decide until they have. But yet you've got a family to feed, you've got bills to pay, so they go, shit, I better then, hoping it doesn't, and look at the carnage that it's caused. And Barry Young, the whistleblower who brought out the data, which I've seen the data, and it's not good. It is not good.
And perhaps I didn't make my point clear enough, and I agree completely with you. My point was that this compulsory medication by stealth, my point was related to fluoride rather than the jab. It wasn't putting down any of the conspiracy theorist points on the jab, but the jab was a physical thing that you sat there and took, whereas this one is put in by stealth, and that is my point. Yeah,
it's basically there is no escape.
No.
You can't even have a choice to say, hey, I'm a conspiracy theorist, I think you're trying to kill me. No, thanks, and run the other way.
Exactly.
Because you've got to drink water.
Exactly.
Yep, no, I agree with that too.
And clean, and wash and shower.
Yeah, and of course, when it heats up, when you're boiling it in the jug, you've got the gas, and the gas is just as dangerous.
And some of these, and apparently it concentrates the fluoride in that water as well. And so there's all those things go with it. And people talk about just get a filter. The filters do not work on fluoride. Only the really expensive reverse osmosis and those things work on the fluoride. So there is no easy treatment to say, oh, I'm not going to take this. You must take it if it is put in our water. Yeah,
right. It's like telling us those masks work when they didn't. That's like trying to put sand in a bloody shopping trolley. Yeah. It just straight through. The media is the problem because now you see it all coming out. You follow the money. USA Aid, Group M, to Internews, to Stuff, Radio New Zealand, and all that. It's all there. These people, these journalists, they're basically prostitutes, journalistic whores.
No, thank you guys. It's really good to see some media involved. As I said to our media person today, they were non-existent when this fight was happening a couple of weeks ago. When we brought Michael Connett over, I offered them a one-on-one interview. The answer was, no, I'm not interested. No reporting the fact that he was here even. They did not attend the speech. Neither has the Ministry of Health, the Director General of Health. She has not attended any speeches. Really good on Winston and New Zealand First taking the stance they're taking. The timing was impeccable, and it's given us a huge leap of support, and we are getting right behind it. And I urge people to push New Zealand First and push our other MPs into making the right decision. And this is a really confusing part in that these fertiliser companies were previously fined tens of thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars for dumping this stuff into the environment. Now they're being paid to put this stuff into our environment, into our water. And who thinks the price isn't going to go up? Once the demand of 14 councils comply, there'll be more complying, the demand will be, the cost will rise hugely. And they will go from having a toxic waste they can't get rid of to a huge form of income for them. And it's just wrong.
I agree. So thank you, Councillor Benney. Much appreciated. And to everybody out there, the councillors that have your back, you re-put back in. Anyone who didn't have your back, you vote out. That's the only way we're going to change this country.